The pretext to the capture of Maduro was for the purposes of facing an indictment in the U.S. And of course, there are supposed crimes that form the basis of this pretext that Venezuela and Maduro are supposedly guilty of, that crimes against the U.S. And of course, the details on this are seemingly always a shifting goalpost and few and far between. But what's coming out concretely about the indictment?
So the Department of Justice unsealed the indictment ahead of Donald Trump's press conference, and in it, it's accused Nicolas Maduro and associates of terrorism, a conspiracy to import cocaine into the United States, drug trafficking, corruption of public institutions to protect illegal drug shipments, and partnerships with foreign drug terror groups, possession of machine guns. It's named Maduro's son, his wife, the Minister of the Interior. It's very similar to the 2020 indictment against him, and this is something that he is going to face. We understand that Nicolas Maduro and his wife are on their way to the United States, to New York, where they will face that indictment and be put on trial.
Yeah. Are there any indications about when we would be able to cite the first appearance of Maduro and his son in court?
Not yet. We're expecting them on Saturday in New York, but no word yet. Some reporting says that in similar cases that they would be taken to a federal detention center in New York. But again, we're not sure exactly of the details, whether he has a legal representation set up or offered to him. We don't know any of those details.
Yeah. The New York Times and various other American media had reported that Donald Trump did not go through the U.S. Senate to, at a bare minimum, inform them about his plans, but also to get the sort of permission that is legally necessary for a strike on a foreign country. And of course, this happened in the dead of the night on Eastern Time, and many of the senators and, of course, congressional representatives would have been fast asleep as this was being executed. What have they said since the start of the day?
Yeah, so we know that this this operation was planned. It was months in the making, and there were rehearsals that were undertaken. So this wasn't just a sort of a suddenly overnight decision. This is according to the Joint Chief of Staff, who spoke at this press conference. This operation, called Absolute Resolve, was a conflagration of all of the United States military branches. It was an air, sea, and land assault using intelligence. And so this was a really big operation. So lots of questions being asked about the legality of such an operation. Democrats are asking for a briefing on this operation to understand the legality. You've got the United Nations Secretary General in a statement issued by his spokesperson questioning whether the rule of law, international rule of law, has been followed in this case, as have many Latin American countries. And there are concerns in Europe, although they may not be explicitly saying it, about this particular operation and what it means. This is not the first time that presidents have been questioned on using military force without the authority, the approval of Congress in advance. Barack Obama faced similar questions. George W. Bush had similar questions. And so you've got, and they each gave their justification for why this was a legitimate strike. We heard from a senator, Mike Lee of Utah, earlier, who said that this operation likely was in conjunction with the Article 2 of the Constitution, falling within the president's inherent authority to protect U.S. personnel from an actual or imminent attack.
Yeah. And just lastly, and I think quite importantly, Donald Trump had announced that they will temporarily run the U.S. But he went as far as to say that the populist right-wing Venezuelan opposition leader does not have the authority, although she's a nice lady, he says, doesn't have the authority and or the support of the country. So she would be a disastrous interim leader. Is there any sort of indication about what concretely it means for the U.S. to temporarily run Venezuela?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It was not clear from that press conference given by Donald Trump what the US running Venezuela means. He indicated that it would be, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, the chair of the Joint Chief of Staff, forming a group with oil companies and with Venezuelans to run the country. What that means in practice, we do not know. He time and time again returned to the point about the oil industry, the US oil companies going into Venezuela, rebuilding infrastructure, and the prospect of Donald Trump selling Venezuelan oil to foreign bidders, and the question of whether how the US would be paying for running Venezuela. He said the US wouldn't be paying for it at all, indicating that it would be paid for from the oil resources. Lots of questions how long the United States would be running Venezuela for. Again, these are so many unanswered questions at this point.
Yeah, we're going to have to leave it there. Jagruti Dave, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate coming to us live there from Washington, D.C.